The battle you tell one about, there's a battle you fight that nobody sees. Not your friends, your family, not the people who smile at you in passing. It's the war that doesn't show up in photos, doesn't trend on timelines, and doesn't need a trophy to prove it was real. It's the battle that starts before the alarm goes off, the one that continues long after everyone else has gone to bed. The battle that lives in your head, your chest, your gut. The one that whispers doubts and screams fears. You don't talk about it because no one would understand. You don't need them to. You don't want sympathy. You want to win. And to win this battle, you have to become someone no one else knows. Someone who doesn't fold when the pressure builds. Someone who doesn't need an audience to show up. Someone who doesn't wait to be saved. Because they already know that no one's coming. You're alone in that ring. Alone with your doubts, your traumas, your exhaustion. Alone with every reason to quit, and you won't. This is where discipline is born. Not in comfort. Not when things are easy. Discipline is born when everything you said stop. But you take one more step anyway. Not because it's heroic, inspired, because it's inspired, because it's necessary, because the pain is real, the weight is real. But so is your ability to keep going. You've had nights where sleep wouldn't come because the war in your mind wouldn't end. You've had days where your smile was a mask to hide the chaos inside. But you still showed up. You still moved, kept fighting. And that's what makes you different. Not the wins, not the praise, but the willingness to fight a battle no one sees, with no guarantee of victory, and still refuse to quit. Every scare you carry, every broken moment, every tear you've hidden, it built you. You didn't just survive the war. You became the weapon. You didn't just endure the silence. You learned how to sharpen your edge, and that voice inside you, the one that says keep going when everything else says stop. That voice isn't weak. That voice is forged in the heat of every invisible war you've ever fought. And it's the only voice that matters, because in the end, the battle you tell no one about is the one that will define you. The hardest battles are fought in silence, behind smiles, in the dark corners of your own mind. These battles don't leave visible scars. They don't shout for attention. They don't ask for applause or recognition. They lie quietly inside you per chest when no one's watching, tightening your throat in rooms full of people where you're forced to pretend everything's fine. You get up every day carrying a weight that others can't see, putting on a mask so no one asks the questions you're not ready to answer. That's what makes these battles so brutal. Not just the pain, but the isolation, the loneliness of carrying it all while pretending you're okay. You can walk through life surrounded by people and still feel like you're bleeding out alone, because the war inside you doesn't care about company. It doesn't wait for the right time to hit. It just shows up uninvited in quiet moments when your guard is down. In the stillness of the night, when distractions fade and your thoughts grow louder, the hardest part is how normal everything on the outside. You laugh at jokes, reply to messages, show up to work, post pictures, but inside it's chaos, a mental war zone, a constant clash between who you are and who you're trying to become. The voice in your head keeps asking why you're not enough, why you're still struggling, why you can't just be like everyone else who seems to have it all together. And in those moments, quitting doesn't just sound like an option. It sounds like relief. But something inside you refuses, not because it doesn't hurt, but because you've tasted pain before and you know how to wear it like armor. You get up again. You move again. You carry that silent war with you through your routine, through your setbacks, through the moments when your mind becomes your worst enemy. And even though no one sees it, even though they think you're fine, you keep going. Not for validation, not for applause, but because something inside you is still fighting. Something deep, something primal, something that knows survival is not enough anymore. You don't just want to survive your own mind, you want to conquer it. And so you keep pushing, dragging your pain into the daylight, refusing to fold, refusing to break even when you're falling apart silently on the inside. You don't need applause or sympathy. You need discipline, repetition, and ruthless self-accountability. Applause fades, sympathy softens you, but discipline sharpens your edge. It doesn't matter who sees the work. If you're not showing up for yourself when no one's watching, the world will clap. It benefits them and pity you when it makes them feel better about themselves. But neither applause nor sympathy will carry you through the dark hours when everything inside you is screaming to quit. That's where discipline walks in. Discipline doesn't care how you feel, doesn't negotiate with weakness. It's the decision to get up and grind when your body aches, when your mind is exhausted, when your emotions beg for rest. Repetition builds the beast. Not one good day, not one fired up session, but every day, again and again, through boredom, through frustration, through setbacks. That's the part nobody wants to talk about, the ugly grinding repetition that turns average into savage. You don't get stronger by accident. You don't become resilient by chance. You become it by doing the hard things so often that it becomes your baseline. Repetition rewires your identity. It strips away excuses and replaces them with evidence of you don't think you're disciplined. You know it because you've proved it 1,000 times, or when it didn't feel good, when it didn't look cool, when no one cared, and self-accountability. That's the ruthless mirror that never lies. That's the voice that doesn't let you off the hook, that doesn't buy your justifications, that calls you out when you're soft, when you're lazy, when you're lying to yourself. It's not glamorous, it's raw, it's harsh, but it's the most honest relationship you'll ever have. the one between you and the truth. You can't fake effort. You can't fake consistency. You either did the work or you didn't. You either showed up or you made excuses. You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to that voice inside. It remembers every skipped rep, every broken promise, every time you said tomorrow, and it will haunt you until you start keeping your word to yourself. You don't need to be congratulated for doing what needs to be done. You need to keep showing up even when the world isn't clapping, even when no one sees, even when everything inside you says stop. No one will ever understand the weight you carry, but that doesn't mean you drop it. It means you carry it further. People see your smile, your composure achievements, but they don't see the invisible burden strapped to your back every single day. They don't feel the pressure on your chest when you wake up or the mental warfare you endure just to step out the door. They don't hear the voices in your head that question everything you do, that mock your efforts, that try to convince you you're not enough. And because they don't see it, they assume it's not there, but it is. You feel every ounce of it, and you felt it for so long that it's become part of who you are. This weight doesn't come with sympathy. It doesn't come with instruction manuals. It's a silent load: grief, trauma, pressure, self-doubt, expectations, things you picked up along the way and never put down. But instead of using it as an excuse, you've turned it into resistance training for your soul. The more it weights, the harder you push. The more it hurts, the more focused you become. Most people would drop it, complain about it, beg for help, but not you. You strap it tighter, grit your teeth, and walk another mile because you enjoy the pain, but because you know what's on the other side of it. Carrying it further doesn't mean pretending it's easy. It means refusing to be broken by it. It means showing up to battle every single day knowing that no one's going to hand you relief. It means understanding that the weight isn't just a burden. It's your teacher. It's shaping you in silence. It's forcing you to dig deeper, to find strength you didn't know you had, to build discipline that most will never taste. And the world will never fully get it. They'll never appreciate the cost of your strength. But that's okay. You didn't carry it for applause. You carried it because quitting was never an option. The weight you carry isn't a curse. It's your crucible. It's the fire that burns away your weakness, the challenge that builds your edge. It's heavy for a reason, and that reason is to build something unbreakable inside you. Your demons don't daze off, so neither can you. Fight daily, quietly, with relentless intensity. The voices that tell you're not good enough, that you'll never make it, that you should just quit. They don't disappear on the weekends. They don't sleep in. They don't pause when you're tired. They're there when you wake up and waiting when you try to rest. They show up in the silence, in the empty moments, in the cracks between your routines. And if you don't meet them with aggression, with discipline, with focus, they will win. This isn't a seasonal battle. It's a lifetime war. You can't afford to wait for motivation. You can't afford to negotiate with your pain. You have to wake up every single day ready to fight. You fight with your actions, with your mindset, with your ability to keep showing up when it makes no sense to. You don't fight loud. You don't need to scream to be dangerous. You become dangerous by doing the work in silence. No celebration, no spotlight, just grit, just drive, just the fire in your chest telling you to go again, no matter how broken, how alone you feel, because the enemy doesn't care about your comfort. The enemy thrives when you hesitate, when you take a day off, when you decide you've done enough. That's when it strikes hardest. The discipline to fight daily means not giving yourself an out. It means not letting emotions dictate execution. You feel weak, but you train. You feel lost, but you move. You feel done, but you keep going. Because there's no finish line in the battle against your inner darkness. It will evolve. It will find new ways to test you, and so you evolve too. You sharpen your weapons, your focus, your work ethic, your hunger. You stop chasing balance and start chasing ownership. You own your pain. You own your habits. You own your reaction to every voice that tries to break you. Relentless intensity doesn't mean you never get tired. It means you keep going when you are. It means the fire inside you burns louder than the fear around you. It means you've made a decision not to survive, not to coast, but to destroy every excuse, to silence every doubt, and to rise again without doubt. The world needing being broken is not an excuse to quit. It's the birthplace of your next level. Rock bottom isn't a grave, it's a forge. It's where the weak stay down and the relentless rise. Most people see being broken as the end, as failure, as proof that they weren't strong enough. But the truth is, being broken is proof that you were in the fight. It means you pushed to your limit, stretched beyond comfort, and hit a wall that most never even approach. That's not the end of your story. That's the part where transformation begins. That's where your real strength gets built, not the strength people clap for, but the kind forged in pain, silence, and sweat. You learn more in moments when everything falls apart than you ever do when things are easy. When your body is exhausted, when your mind is fractured, when your spirit is gasping for air. That's when you find out who you really are. You don't build a powerful mind by avoiding pressure. You build it by standing in the storm, taking the hit, and getting back up slower, stronger, and more deliberate. You weren't broken to quit. You were broken to rebuild yourself differently, harder, unsharper, unshakable. Every next level of you is buried under layers of pain and discomfort. You don't unlock it by wishing for better days. You unlock it by walking into the fire with no guarantee of coming out the same. And when you do come out, you carry scars, But those scars are not signs of weakness. They're proof of rebirth. They're the receipts for every time you chose to keep going when everything told you to stop. They're not ugly. They're not shameful. They're a map of the war inside you. And every mark has a lesson. Excuses are easy when you're broken. They come in quietly, dressed as logic, dressed as self-care, dressed. I've done enough. But growth doesn't speak softly. Growth demands sacrifice. It demands pain. It demands you stand when your legs are shaking and keep moving when your soul begs for rest. Being broken means you've been tested. But what you do next decides whether it breaks you down or breaks you open to something far greater than you imagined yourself to be. Every invisible war you survive builds a version of you that noise, pain, or doubt can never shake. These are the battles no one sees, the silent mental storms that hit when the world thinks you're doing just fine. The internal wars fought in the early hours of the morning when you're wide awake, staring at the ceiling, questioning your worth, your purpose, your strength. You fight these wars alone. No crowds, no cheers, no cameras, just you and the chows in your head, just you and the pressure crushing your chest. But every time you make it through one of those unseen battles, you're building something inside yourself that no outside circumstance and touch it doesn't look heroic. It doesn't feel victorious. Sometimes surviving the day is the win. Sometimes getting out of bed, showing up, pushing through the weight of thoughts trying to drown you. That's the real definition of strength. No one will ever understand how hard it was to stay in the fight when everything inside you begged to quit. No one will ever see the tears you wiped away quietly or the screams you swallowed just to keep moving forward. But you remember, and that's all that matters. Every time you endure, something changes. A new layer of mental armor gets added. A new threshold of pain gets absorbed. And slowly, the noise outside starts losing power. The opinions of others, the fear, the doubt, the setbacks. They don't hit the same anymore. They bounce off the version of you that was built in the shadows. You stop reacting emotionally to temporary situations because you felt deeper pain and made it out. You've had entire conversations with yourself in the dark and emerged with clarity sharper than anyone else's noise. These invisible wars are not punishment, preparation. They are building a version of you that is immune to external validation, unbothered by critics, and calm in the face of pressure. Every time you fight through the mental fog, you sharpen a mindset that doesn't flinch when tested. You become the kind of person who can walk through hell without showing the burn, not because it didn't hurt, but because you've already fought worse battles, left no visible scars, but etched strength into your bones. The greatest war you will ever fight is the one no one sees, the one that lives in your mind, whispers in your ear, and weighs on your chest before the world even wakes up. It's the war that doesn't get likes, doesn't earn medals, and doesn't end with applause. It starts the moment you decide to stop lying to yourself, when you stop pretending everything's fine and admit that you're barely holding on. But here's the truth. No one's coming to save you. No one's handing you strength. No one's going to understand the weight you carry, and they don't need to. Because this war is yours, and that means the victory will be yours too. You've walked through fire without saying a word. You've kept fighting while soul was bruised and your spirit cracked. And still you showed up. Still you kept moving. That is power. That is discipline. That is unbreakable. Being broken is not weakness. Being broken means you were tested. And if you're still breathing, still grinding, still standing, then you are already stronger than most will ever be. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be relentless. Relentless when it's hard. Relentless when it's quiet. Relentless when it feels like nobody cares. And working, stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for someone to believe in you. You already have everything you need. It's buried beneath excuses, beneath pain, beneath doubt. Dig, rip the weakness out, build something violent inside, something focused, something so dangerous that your demons think twice before speaking again. You're not just fighting for results. Why you're fighting for respect, not from others, but from yourself. That's what matters, that you look in the mirror and see someone who never gave in, someone who took pain and turned it into fuel, someone who bled and still moved forward, someone who didn't need recognition, didn't need help, didn't need comfort. Only the mission this life will try to break you in every way possible. It will test your patience, your resilience, your able to keep breathing. Good. Let it push, let it pound, let it try. And when it does, you respond with action, work with brutal consistency, because the battle never ends. And that's exactly what makes it